Sunday night, October 5th, second one of the day. Earlier, I was at the Park Theater. Dust Rhinos, live from the Park Theater. Super cool. Let's just give a quick shout out to our sponsors. There's two sponsors right now. We got the Manitoba Loud Music Awards happening October 11th. And the other sponsor of October is First Row Collectibles, 1835 Main Street, your hub for all things collectible, I guess you could say. Um, Tonight's guest, you've been here before. We were just talking before we went live here. We've been here before. We talked about another album, but this is a little bit different. We are dialing in on Jared Adams' 2020 release, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. 5 years. 5 years of tragic nostalgia. Um, an album that you can tell have a lot of influences on it, and just a great album front to back. You had some amazing musicians on here. I had Alex on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We touched on it and just Jared Adams as a whole, color by numbers, everything.
Yeah.
So here we are, Jared. Let's dive right into this.
Okay.
Take me back 5 years, probably 6 years, I would probably say. But take us back to where you were in life with tragic nostalgia.
Like writing the album?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it dates back probably almost a decade, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, like for years I kind of been sort of putting some songs together, and I think so. Like you're mentioning how you had Alex on, and we had that conversation where Alex had said to me like, "Oh, Jared, you have this real like tragic nostalgia about you," and then said to him like, "Ah, that's gonna be it. That's my first album." And I think that moment was probably like almost a decade ago from now. And that's kind of when I started sort of like thinking about this idea of like putting this album together of like these sort of, I guess, overly sad songs, I suppose is kind of the idea. Try to like write something that's tragic and nostalgic. Um, so yeah, it dates back quite a while. And then at a certain point, I was like, I've been kind of sort of like writing these songs and been 3 or 4 years. I'm like, I should just go in to record these. And yes, I went in probably during 2019 and recorded and put out in 2020.
Excellent. Um, First track on there, Wild at Heart. You know, you've been doing a really good job leading up to this with social media and kind of talking about the songs, talking about some of the influences. Um, you had the things you wouldn't know about the album as it came out, and just different things about the songs. But let's just go right to Wild at Heart. That one, obviously the first song I heard off the album, first song up, right?
Yeah.
Wild at Heart. You talk about seeing the tragic layup and in Penticton.
Pemberton.
Pemberton. There you go. Pemberton. So you talk about that with them in the mountains as a backdrop. Talk to me. We'll kind of go song by song, I guess. Talk to me about Wild at Heart.
Yes, it's kind of a song about sort of like going on road trips and kind of just sort of getting away from the world, and just sort of like embracing that sort of wild youth of spirit, or kind of just getting out there. And yeah, that moment specifically, there's a festival years ago in Pemberton called the Pemberton Music Festival, and it was just a bunch of huge Canadian bands, and the Hip was one of the bands that we saw, and like it was just cool watching them play with this like giant like vista of mountains behind them. It was just like such a beautiful moment. It just like stuck in my memory forever of that festival. Like it's always one of those things that are like actually kind of shaped me as a person, I guess, that festival.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Second song up, Tides. And once again, before we went live, you had mentioned in one of your posts leading up to this show here, some songs that inspired this, and you brought up a song off "In Rainbows" from Radiohead, and I went and listened to the song, and immediately it was right there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I get it,
Yeah,
and it's fantastic. It is my favorite song on the album.
I've heard that from a lot of people. A lot of people like that one, and I think
Yeah.
that's sort of like kind of why Mystic Humanism sort of led a bit more into that sort of synthesizer realm and kind of more drum machines and stuff. So I kind of had that idea in the back of my head that people liked that song off the album.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous Desire.
Yeah, I mean that's another one. It's just sort of a traveling song, kind of about like getting away, getting on the road, and It's actually the genesis of the lyrics for that song come from an episode of X-Files, actually. Uh,
Okay.
there's an episode where Mulder and Scully are like out in the desert, and there's like this gas station called Atomic Gas. I was like, oh, that's like really cool name for a gas station. And I sort of wrote the song about this idea like atomic gasoline, and kind of that's sort of like the idea of like being in the desert and traveling and going past all the things that you see and whatnot. And that was one of the lines, like atomic gasoline makes in there somewhere. I can't remember the phrase off the top of my head. Like, no one thinking I can't know what to just say, you know. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we come to Bright on there, which is actually a close second for me
Oh yeah, nice.
on this one. Yeah. Heavyweight, obviously heavyweight. I find that heavyweight is one of those songs where someone may misinterpret the lyrics. I think it could have a dual meaning, and it's just it's such a good album.
Right.
And I listened to it again today, a couple hours ago. I thought I got to get in the zone here and just kind of go through things. Where did the wild things go? Um, and that's maybe inspired by the book.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind
Yeah.
of taking a look at the book and sort of looking at that through a lens of being older and thinking like, oh, I miss those days of being young and free and
Hmm.
wild, being the king of the rumpus, right? That's sort of the interpretation there, or the way I've always sort of like thought of it.
When we were young, and
Self-explanatory about being young.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Eh?
It's kind of a theme
And
for this album.
and then you run it through here with tragic nostalgia, which you had a video and I kind of giggled about it a little bit. You said it was almost you had to write as if you were depressed, I guess you could say, but you weren't
Yeah,
depressed.
I don't think I was really depressed at the time when I wrote it. It's just more like with the name like Tragic Nostalgia, and the chord progression is kind of really sad. It's just like the lyrics should also kind of maybe just be like overly hyperbolic and just really sad. Like there's a line about like dreams and aspirations took a toaster in the bath, and it's like it's really sad. I wasn't feeling that. It was just sort of like I was trying to like exaggerate the things that I was feeling, sort of, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so that's the track listing on it here. So, um, let's go. It's released June 25th. Sorry, I just had to look it up. June 25th. Let's talk about some of the musicians on here because the people involved in this aren't. It's not like these guys were just picked up off the street. These are phenomenal musicians in Winnipeg. Tell me about some of the musicians. Obviously, we had Alex on here a couple weeks ago when we briefed on this. As he just had a release on the zone. But we briefed on Tragic Nostalgia and just the work he does, and you guys have Color by Numbers as well. But talk to me about some of the musicians involved in getting this out.
Yeah, so yeah, Alex is on it playing keys, which is sort of like he plays bass in Club Numbers with us. So it was kind of nice to be able to bring him on in a different role. And he's like really a phenomenal piano player as well. So I was like, it makes sense for him to, come on and play some songs in this. And same with Jesse, who was also in Club Numbers as well. But again, he played guitar in Club Numbers. I had him come play drums on this album. I just because like Jesse and Alex like knew each other and played music together before, and I knew that they were able to play well together. And Jesse's feel for the drums for this album is just sort of, he has that sort of like organic kind of drumming that's really natural and kind of, it's not always like perfectly to the click, but the little push and pull, and it gives it that sort of human feel, and it's really nice. Like I thought his drumming was perfect for this album. And on the bass, we have Brian Yo, who I've been playing with in bands since I was like 15 or 16 or something. So we've always sort of had a good relation in terms of music and like the things we like to play together. So it just made sense to bring him on. And then playing guitar, we had Billy Shifke, who kind of was recommended me to through a friend of a friend. And like the first rehearsal, he came in and just like knew all the songs down and like was adding all these like little flourishes. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Like, yeah, I'm happy on the album too. Like,
how did how did it come about? Just having these musicians. Were you guys running these songs for a little bit, or were you
I
were you playing them, or did you all just kind of come together and you brought in your guys for this and just kind of laid out the groundwork?
So I did do maybe only one show before recording, actually. So I think it was the Fringe Fest in 2019. I played a show there, but it wasn't Jesse on the drums. We had a different drummer for that because he wasn't available. And then yeah, we just did a few rehearsals before, and then actually, just the way schedules worked out, I don't think Jesse and Brian had actually even played the songs together before they getting into the studio, but they'd had enough practice separately on the parts. So when they got there, and they just, and I mean, they've also known each other for years too. So like they played with each other, jammed with each other. So it's not like they like didn't know each other at all. So they kind of knew how each other worked. But it was just kind of funny that like the first time they actually played those songs together was in the studio.
That's crazy. Um, let's talk about the show coming up here. 5 years of tragic nostalgia. It is being held at Public Domain,
Yep.
which I have never been to. So I'm looking forward to this. This it's beside the
It's
Goodwill,
right
is it not?
beside Goodwill. Yeah, it shares like a
Oh, okay.
wall with the Goodwill. Yeah.
Oh,
It's kind
okay,
of it's a
cool.
neat place. It's sort of like the vibe. From my understanding, it's a couple of the guys who worked at Goodwill or something or managed there that now opened up this place. So it's kind of the same vibe as Goodwill, a little bit smaller, but it's a nice place and
Oh,
got a cool little stage. So I figured it'd be a good place to put on the show.
awesome. What in talking about putting on, the show itself, this is what it's all leading to, right?
Yeah.
Putting on the show itself here, what made you want to go back to 5 years ago and do these songs again?
So some point earlier this year, I kind of just it clicked as like, oh my god, it's been like 5 years since this album came out. I was like, holy cow, that's like significant time period, I guess. And a part of it too was also like the album came out in 2020, of course, with all the pandemic restrictions. Like I was able to have a release party in August of that year, but it was like quite limited. Like it was a whole seated thing. I think we maybe only could have like 20 people in maximum or whatever. So like it wasn't really the show I wanted to have for the album for a release show. So I kind of thought, hey, this is a good opportunity now. I put up Mystic Humanism last year, and some people are starting to know who I am. So like, why not go back and revisit this album? And be like, hey, maybe you haven't heard this before, and let's do a release show for this, and kind of give it the show that it kind of deserved to have gotten in 2020, but unfortunately wasn't able to get. So that was kind of my sort of reasoning behind why I wanted to put this on and do this sort of thing for it.
Mm-hmm. Did you obviously 2020 COVID? What were some restrictions and just maybe problems you came across when trying to record this? Were you kind of handcuffed to a couple things, or were you pretty free flowing with it? Did it
No,
work out the
so
way you wanted?
luckily we recorded it in 2019, and so
Oh, right, you said that. Yeah.
yeah. So we finished mixing, I think, in like February of 2020 or like January. And I was like, oh, I was so stoked. The album's done. I'm going to plan this big release show. And then boom, the whole world shut down. I was like, damn.
Unreal, eh? Yeah, because
Yeah.
that was like March,
Yeah.
I
I
believe.
was actually the sort of side note. I was actually in Florida in March of 2020 when everything started shutting down. And I was like, oh, crap. I better get home.
Oh no. I remember seeing Kiss in Grand Forks in late February with like whatever
Oh, yeah.
40,000 people, and
Yeah.
then it wasn't long after that everything shut down. I was like, wow, I was just with like a ton of people. So
Yeah.
that's a crazy time, eh? Like we look back on that, and you know, 5 years ago, just when everything started, shutting down. Obviously, we would have been about 6 months into it by now, but what a crazy time to be alive! Like the stories to tell, in 20 years from now that we'll look back on it and there'll be, there's already documentaries and stuff about it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just think of 20 years from now when we look back on this, like what a crazy time. What a
Well,
crazy time for music though, right?
yeah, I mean, that was the time when I actually wrote Mystic Humanism. So I had like all this time off. It was just not necessarily time off, but like in the evenings you couldn't go out anywhere. So I'm like, well, I'll just start messing around in Logic with drum machines and stuff and see what comes of it. Like,
Exactly, right? Let's talk about that album. I know we're really focused on the one album, but let's talk going from tragic nostalgia, and then you obviously begin writing in the whole COVID time, right? For your next one.
yeah,
Do you feel your writing changed between that time? Were there some maybe events or anything that inspired you to write a little bit different? I mean, when you listen to this album and then you go back to your Mystic Humanism, it's it is a little bit of a different vibe, and
yeah, I think like tragic nostalgia. Actually, I kind of somewhat specifically wrote it in a way where the songs were very much chord based and could be played in an acoustic manner. Because I'd always kind of thought when I wrote that album or was writing it that like if I wanted to go on tour, I could easily just do like an acoustic tour, or do house shows or whatever.
Mhm.
And that'd be an easy way to just go out and like wouldn't cost me a whole bunch because it would just be me or whatever. So I actually wrote it specifically so these songs could be sort of broken down into like just the vocals and the chords on the guitar. Even though there is like a lot of moving parts on all the songs, I think for that album, a lot of the meat and bones of the song is really in the chords and the lyrics. Whereas Mystic Humanism, like because like I was saying, I had like tons of time with the pandemic. A lot of that was just sort of me just messing around, sort of figuring out what works, like starting with the guitar riff or starting with the synthesizer thing or some drum machines or vocal line, whatever it was, and just trying to make what was best for the song. And I was, like I had said before, like, because people always said like they like that song Ties, I was kind of leaning in a bit more of that direction of the sort of electronic kind of stuff. But those songs, like there's some of those songs in that album that like I don't think I could really turn into acoustic versions. Like what's the Art of Like to War? Like that song is just this big heavy guitar riff and stuff. Like I don't know if I could really do that as like an acoustic version. So like
Yeah.
they were very much differently written, but I don't think like it was intentional the way I wrote them, but I don't think I was ever really trying to necessarily write something different per se. Like I was still writing the way that I write music. Like I've the way I've always kind of written music. Just maybe the song choices that I chose to put on each album were more specific to certain styles.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember having you on before. Um, I think the first time I ever heard of yours was Inundated.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
Either
at the
that or South End Kids might have been one of those two.
yeah,
But another great album. And Jared, your one thing I want to talk about with your live show is you're an entertainer. Anytime I've seen you, and I will tell you, anyone who watches this and follows my band, my first show with Valley Narrow was with your Radio Riders, the
that's
guys on
right.
Tap House.
Yeah.
That was the first show, and I talked about you being an entertainer, and that night you jumped onto the speaker on the ground during Say It Ain't So, and it kind of took me, and I'm like, wow. And then they put a monitor on top of that, and I always thought it's off it now, but I always thought, did they put that on so people don't, so Jared doesn't jump on that thing again?
Yeah, maybe.
I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, you're an entertainer. I've seen you a couple times now, and I love a Jared Adams live show. Whether it's by yourself or whether you're with Radio Riders. I've never seen the Color by Numbers show. I'm looking forward to that. I know there is some stuff that Alex had told me that we posted regarding that. But tell me, what do you got in store for the show? Are you just doing the one album, or are you going to do some of your other work too?
Yeah, so we are going to do the album front to back, and I'm adding in. There's a song that I've written for the album that never got recorded, so that's going to get added into there. It's a little bonus track if you want to hear that one.
Cool.
And then yeah, I think we're going to do a few other songs at the end because the album is only about 8 songs, so it's maybe about 25, 30 minutes or whatever. So we're going to tack a
Yeah,
few more songs at the end.
31 minutes clocked in, so that's cool. Yeah, it'll be super cool to hear the whole thing, and you got merch as well.
Yeah, there's some Tragic Nostalgia merch still that I have kicking around. I was like, well, had this for years now, so why don't we give it all 50% off at the show? So come down, get a
There
t-shirt,
you go.
art picks, stuff like that.
What kind of merch do you got? You got shirts,
Shirts, guitar
picks.
picks, some stickers, CDs. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's all we got. The
That's
usual
awesome.
sort of band merch.
That's awesome. You know what? Merch is always cool, and what a good thing. I'm really excited for this. Sorry, I just keep looking at this, but I'm really excited for the show, and it's Thursday, is it not?
Yeah, this Thursday coming up at
This
the
Thursday.
yeah.
Any reason you're going to public domain, or was it recommended, or just available?
I went and I saw the Haley's there a few months ago, and I was just like,
Mm,
it's a really cool venue, and it's like be a nice place to do a show for Tragic Nostalgia. Actually, one of the things I think for me that I really liked about it was the stage sort of has like these red velvet curtains that line it, which kind of almost reminds me of like Twin Peaks. So that's sort of like whatever weird room than Twin Peaks with the crazy people talking backwards. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
I really like the aesthetic of it, and I was like, okay, like this could match with the whole like Tragic Nostalgia thing. So I think that was sort of one of the things that kind of was like, oh yeah, this could be the venue to do it in. And I just done my other release show at Handsome Daughter. I didn't really want to repeat myself. I kind of have this whole sort of I don't like repeating myself too much when it comes to my music, like doing the same thing again or whatever. So I try to
Hmm.
stay fresh occasionally.
I heard such good things about your show at Handsome Daughter, the release there.
Yeah.
And I can't right. now remember who told me about it, but they told me about it and they said you had like strings and you had
Oh,
like all these different instruments. And he said, man, I wish I could remember who it was. But he told me about it and said, yeah, he said it was just a show. And that was the first time I really like heard about, oh, he's an entertainer. He's a showman. He's great, right? And I always, I've talked about your jacket before. Your jacket, it's that and your glasses. You have a stage presence with you, and that's what I'm really looking forward to this week, seeing you up on stage again. And I love a pure performer that it's just entertaining to be around, right? And see and you got some guests coming with you too, a couple opening acts as well.
yeah, we got Marshall Riley, who I sort of met through the open mic scene. Really great songwriter and good like folk music and stuff. So he's gonna be opening the night up. And we got Shay Wolf, and she's bringing her band, and she's just phenomenal. A great singer, writes awesome songs as well. So I think both of them also have a sound that sort of matches with the whole tragic nostalgia sound. So I figured it would be good to have some bands that were on the same sort of theme for the night.
So yeah, so they were handpicked then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, you're looking here. There's one more. Oh, do you have a favorite song off the album?
Oh, that's a great question. Um,
It's weird when it's your own songs,
yeah,
right? It's like picking your favorite child.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I think it kind of. I mean, I'm gonna go with "When We Were Young" is sort of off the top of my head as the one that I would say is maybe number one. Just because it's a fun song to play. And it's one that I still often include in most sets. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, Tides and Bright are definitely the close seconds for that.
Yeah,
They're just
Tides is so good.
thanks. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, I think the first time I went through, I was like Gorgeous Desire. I really, really liked it. And then yeah, listen Tides of that. I listened to Tides again. Obviously I listened to the whole album today. I had to take a bit of a drive today and I thought it's a 25-minute drive, it's a 31-minute album. Let's go. So yeah, no, it's just great. So the show obviously this Thursday, public domain. Jared Adams is doing Tragic Nostalgia. It's 5 years of Tragic Nostalgia. Crazy. Time flies when you're in music, I guess. Where can you get tickets? Is it just door or do you have physicals?
There's tickets online.
Okay.
Probably a link wherever at Show Pass. Yeah, so it's $10 in advance and 15 at the door. So if anyone is planning on coming down, get them in advance, save some money.
Yeah. I'm going to grab the link when we're done and I'm going to post it in the comments of this episode. Um this is episode I think it's 88 now.
Nice.
Episode
Yours.
88. Yeah. Should be 88. You've been on two of them. Good for you. Episode 88. This one will also be hitting Spotify this week, so that's cool. Catch the rerun if you want on Facebook, catch it on YouTube, or just have a listen on Spotify in your car if you're out for a drive. I mean, this is a big week for Jared Adams. It's a big week for music. I encourage everyone to get out there Thursday, get to public domain, check out this show. If you haven't seen Jared Adams before, I mean, you missed.
Come on down.
Exactly. Eh? Awesome, man. Well, thanks for jumping on tonight.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I really wanted to get you on before the show. I'm excited for it. And I will see you there. What time's doors?
Doors are at 8, music is at 9.
Perfect. So you're going on like 11ish?
Yeah, 10:30, 11, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, you're good. Awesome. Okay, bud. Thanks for jumping on. We'll catch you later. I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks to everyone tunes in.